You know, I'm seeing all these videos right now where all these farmers are crying about not getting no help right now. You know what? Let me ask you something. When have you ever heard of a black farmer crying about it? Never. And you want to know why? Because they ain't never got no help in the first place. That's right. USDA's literally admitted to discriminating against black farmers. And literally black farmers had to sue thousands of them to get what white farmers are handed for free. And fast forward to today, all these farmers crying that they can't get no help. You see, black farmers, they've been struggling. Y'all just now feeling what they've been feeling for over 100 years. Black farmers, they used to own over 19 million acres of land. But guess what? Systematic racism, denied loans, shady politicians, and legal loopholes wiped them all out. Yeah. And now they're 1% of America's farmland. When the government finally tried to pass relief for the black folk back in 2021, white farmers sued to block it, claimed it was reverse discrimination. Make that make sense. So, you know, next time you see folks complaining about farm aid, why don't you ask them, where's the help for the black farmers? Ask them why their struggle is just now important when others have been suffering for centuries.
So I'm a black farmer, and a lot of people are wondering, why are black farmers not panicking like a lot of white farmers? Well, let me explain to you the reasons why. It's because white farmers have been handed everything to them, a lot of them. Not saying all of them, but a good bit of them. And by that I mean this. You know, MLK even pointed out, he says, you know, farmers in the West and the Midwest who were white, they were given land, they were given money, they were given training, they were given a lot. Whereas the black farmers weren't given anything. And the largest civil rights settlement in U.S. history is Pickford v. Glickman, where you had a class action lawsuit, bunch of black farmers all joined the lawsuit, and they won a huge settlement because the USDA was shown to be racist for decades. So because black farmers haven't been given anything, we've been learning to do without, unlike your white farmers. So when things are taken away from you, all your subsidies, all your tax breaks, guess what? You panic. Whereas we've always been going through this shit. So there's problems in privilege.
Have you noticed that there's one group that has not made any noise or made videos complain about Trump's policies hurting them or their business? Black farmers. How many videos have you seen of black farmers, excuse me, making videos going, oh, I'm going to lose my farm because Trump cut off benefits. I'm going to lose my farm because the Department of Agriculture no longer gives me subsidies. How many videos have you seen of black farmers doing that? That's because black farmers have historically, till this day, been excluded from all government subsidies. So right now, every white farmer is learning how to survive the same way black farmers have been surviving. Like I said, what Trump was going to do was bring every white American down to the black American level.
4 years ago, they were crying because they couldn't afford their student loans. It's kind of strange, because if you're an expert in finance and you got college educated on finance, wouldn't you think you could take care of your finances in your own house?
I don't know, shouldn't you be able to handle your own finances without constantly relying on Dems to give you handouts and bail you out? Recognize this guy? This is a perfect example of why people make FAFO content. This is a perfect example of why regret is not the same as redemption. You may remember this guy from a video where he was crying about losing his farm because he spent a bunch of money he didn't have because he was banking on receiving certain subsidies that he was promised promised thanks to the Biden admin. And then when Trump got into office, the guy he wanted, and put a freeze on all the aid that was going out, including the aid going to American farmers like himself, he suddenly had a problem with the whole endeavor. People, of course, understandably dragged him, made a bunch of FAFO content, and then he came out and asked people to stop, kicking him while he was down, that he was here to listen and to learn, and that he didn't know about all this Project 2025 stuff. He'd had the wool pulled over his eyes. But now he's in pain, he's afraid for his farm, he's willing to hear people out. And in fact, it sparked a conversation where people were saying, like, let's embrace these people who are regretting their choices and let's speak to them because clearly they want to learn. I'm not gonna say that everyone who has regrets doesn't want to learn. What I'm saying is that having regrets does not mean that someone has learned. Having regrets about doing something that would harm a lot of people simply because you're now being harmed, that's not a lesson. You're still operating completely out of self-interest. You have not learned anything. So what happened? Well, a bunch of people who have been pushing against this administration and all the havoc it has been wreaking, all the destruction it is causing, sued the admin over those frozen funds and successfully got those funds unfrozen, at least temporarily. So this learning and listening farmer got his funds released. Now he's fine. What do you think? Did he learn a lesson? Nope. He's now back to going after everyone else. He's now back to not listening to people when they're explaining how tariffs are going to harm the economy. For example, he's now making fun of people who took out student loans. If they're bad with their finances, what are you, dude? What are you? What is your farm if it cannot exist or survive without Dems bailing it out all the time? Yeah, when things get bad for you again, no one's going to be fooled when you claim to be listening and learning. Next time it's time for you to find something out, we're gonna know. If you're not out there like working to undo the harm that you caused, I'm sorry. Your regret is not redemption.
Black farmers. Imagine how healthy we would be if we had more black farmers, or let's pretend we have only black farmers, right? I'm talking about the way that the Midwest is going to fall apart without federal funding, specifically all of these farmers, right? But one group that's going to do well is black farmers because they never got all of these handouts. And so I am not opposed to a strategy where we do let some of these rural Midwestern towns kind of fall apart on their own doing and take that as a redistricting opportunity. But think about this. Native Americans, how much healthier would our planet be and our land be if Native Americans had more farmland, which will be one of the groups that have the cash to do so. So I don't know, it's a silver lining I'm trying to think of. I was just trying to think if I've ever known a major farm or plant to have a food recall that was black owned, and if there is, I certainly can't.
Welcome to this platform. I'm glad that you tuned in. And recently, after Trump decided to bring in policies, we've seen tensions all over America, and they are coming from white farmers. Maybe they're not used to this, but I can tell you there's a lot of silence in the black community. There is a lot of silence in the black community simply because I believe that black people have been through this since time immemorial. They've always fought this in silence. They've always been dying inside. If you look at the discriminatory access to government supports that is there in America, you will get a reason as to why black people are very quiet at this time. And I think that the greatest issue here is the historical land dispossession. Yeah, this is the greatest issue here. After emancipation, blacks were promised land that were often taken or even never granted. And the went through all this for a prolonged period of time. And also living alone, that there's also lack of access to government support, because most of the banks, they're not even ready to support the black farmers. Most of the blacks, they don't get that full support to cultivate their lands. They've been going through this for long. It's now becoming a lifestyle for them. For long, they've experienced discriminatory laws and policies that are always against them, because the system is never on their side. And so they've got to stand on their own. They're very much strong because they've been fighting alone all this while. Maybe through the communities that they built. That has been a pillar that they've been leaning to for long. If not that one, I don't know what else. There's also this issue of cultural erasure and lack of representation for the blacks. It is also a common challenge, and it has been a common challenge to black people, to black farmers. Without also leaving alone the environmental racism, because most of these farmers, they were given lands that were too small, and if not too small, they're given portions of land that are not fertile enough to support the crops that they need to cultivate there. And for a while, not for long, they've been going through all this and fighting and always emerging victorious. I believe if white farmers and black farmers, if they were placed in same place of equality and equity, maybe we could have the best farmers coming from black people. Not even maybe, definitely we are going to have one of the greatest farmers coming from a black community. And I've always believed that tough times create tough men that in turn isn't tough situations. Right now, the situation is tough for everyone, but it's not tough. Okay, it is tough also to black people, to black farmers, but they don't feel that impact that much because they're used to this and they've always been fighting this for long, but in silence. They've been fighting this in silence. And I think that's why there's this silence even after these policies that were brought by Trump's administration affecting all farmers at large in America. That's why the whites are really struggling with it, because they don't know how it is to stand or to work in a place when you're not given the full support, when you're not given that loan to support you, where you're not given enough portions of land for it to give you enough food for your family and to sell the rest. I believe maybe they don't know how to farm in a land that is not fertile enough. And that's why right now blacks are just okay. They're just okay not because they are okay, but because they are used to this. And I'm glad to see that some of the whites are recognizing that racism has greatly affected blacks in different ways. Systemic racism has been a thorn to black people, and I clap my black people. I clap them because they are much strong, and they are very, very tough. That's why I don't think there's any situation that will make them break, because they are tough enough to handle it. Now, these are just my honest remarks. I honestly don't know what you think about this video. Let's continue conversing in the comment section. And if this was your first time in this channel, we greatly appreciated your time here, man. We are humble to have you here, and we also welcome you once again and again and again. You're most welcome here. If you've not subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so in order for you to support us, share our content, and give us a like. We are greatly going to be happy and appreciate. We are going to appreciate greatly. I'm hoping to see you in the next video. See you soon.